I am stupid. I am dumb. But I think you'll love me when I'm full of Well, hey there, everybody. It's Chris from the Rate the Record podcast. And if you could believe it, which you should because you're in the video right now, it's time for another NMR. 3 brand new songs are dropping, or have dropped, I should say. I listened to them. I'm going to tell you what I think. I want to know what you think, so how about we just go through it right now and get it all started, huh? I decided I'm having a bad hair day, so I'm just going to wear this hat for the rest of the review. But other than that, it's time to get to the first song of 3 that I have today. So the first band that I'm looking at is Static X. And Static X is an industrial metal band out of Los Angeles, California. Their upcoming 8th studio album is coming out sometime soon. I couldn't find the exact date for it. Maybe I just missed it. I don't know. It was supposed to be released last year, but there was plenty of delays, and apparently it was because they unearthed some lost material that they wanted to rework. This goes back to when Wayne Static was still alive, like a decade ago, so they found that kind of material. And the song that I'm looking at is actually one of those songs. It's called Stay Alive. Well, what an ironic title. This is very straightforward industrial metal from the word go, but I can't help but note that I think the occasional random bursts of like growling in the intro of this song just really made me snicker a little bit. I mean, they felt really unnecessary, and I just kept hearing them. I'm just like, why are you doing these weird guttural sounds that are actually kind of quiet in the mix too, so they don't really do anything for the song. I will say that the song has good energy to it, but unfortunately I'm not really finding much to stick to with this one. It actually feels very similar, like almost all the way through the track. There's not really one thing that stands out to me over the other, so there isn't much for me to say about it. On that note, I will say though that the guitars have like this simple and very mechanical sound to their composition and production. Especially with industrial metal, everything sounds very like cut to the point, mechanical. So I think you know what I mean when I say that. The drums are very fierce and driving in this one as well, so I do like that much of it. But other than that, there's not really that much that captures my imagination or stands out to me, so other than those notes, it's hard to say much else about it. Because overall, I will say that maybe this track works well in the background of some sort of underground like metal or goth club or something along the lines of that. Maybe it works there, and that's fine. I can actually see that being a thing. But sitting here, casually listening to music, doing this review for you, I'll pass. Coming up next on the list is Chromeo. They're an electro-funk or synth-pop band that go into a few different types of genres. Regardless, they're out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and their 6th studio album called Adult Contemporary is on the way soon. Once again, maybe I just missed the date. I'm just not on my ball today at all. And the first single from this is called Personal Effects. This one has a pretty typical run-of-the-mill electro-pop synthwave type of beat. Not that that's a bad thing or anything. So if anything, it is fun. It's got a good groove going all throughout it, so I can take that much away from it. My biggest gripe, I think, comes from the vocals because they're very forward-facing in the mix way more often than not. I mean, they still sound good, don't get me wrong, but it could probably work just as well if you turn them down just a little bit. Because even in the chorus, it gets pretty loud and unnecessary as well. Granted though, it is really catchy and singable, I will give it that much. But the problem with the chorus though is that I don't think it's as big as it could probably be. It feels like it could build up to something bigger, but it never really truly reaches that climax. Because I always feel like you're waiting for some sort of like big drop or moment to happen in that final chorus and just make it really, really grand, but unfortunately it never comes. It is a little disappointing, but it still doesn't sound bad, so I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted on it. And overall, that can kind of sum up my thoughts on the track. I was kind of wishing for a little more. I was a little disappointed that it didn't give me that, but it still wasn't necessarily a bad track. It's not one of those top picks I would usually go for, but at the same time, it's definitely not bad. I'll give it that much. And finally, we have the band The Blood Republic, who's been around since 2018, and they just dropped a brand new EP, and I'm going to be looking at the title track of this particular EP called Take Back Control. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way first because it is my biggest gripe with this song, because other than that, it's not super bad or anything like that at all. But I have to say, the vocal processing, I don't know what's going on with it, but it's god-awful. Like, I need to know what happened here. I need to know who okayed this decision, because the vocals, right off the top, sound like they were done through a Zoom call that was starting to break up, and then they tried to do the best they could to salvage the audio. Trust me, I edit podcasts for a living, not even Rate the Record. I do it for an actual full-time job, so I know when this shit gets bad. That's what it sounded like to me. And I cannot for the life of me think of why they let this through. And I listened to several versions, the Bandcamp version, Spotify version, on YouTube, and they all sound the exact same. So I don't get it. How did that get through? And if it's an effect, if it was on purpose, I don't know why it was. That was a terrible production choice. I had to get that part of the rant out of the way because, oh my god, it bothered me. I think I might have spit a little bit in that. I apologize. That just goes to show how impassioned I am by this. Other than the vocal processing, I will say that there are things I like about the song. For example, the bass guitar has a great, gnarly kind of distortion to it. And I don't mean like, gnarly dude, or anything bullshit like that. I just mean the tone of it is really good. So that's something I can definitely pull out of this and enjoy. The instrumental passages are really good too, and I really like the halftime pace chorus. It's a really great touch, and the melody is also catchy enough too, so again, there are good things coming out of this. But going back to the vocals just for a minute, not even for the processing, but the mixing of the vocals are a little all over the place in this song. In the verses it sounds quieter, and I did kind of note also that in the choruses it does sound louder and way more forward-facing. It feels like a rough mix. Like, this feels like a demo that was just supposed to be handed off to show corrections. So again, was this on purpose? Like, is this the actual official product? I don't want to like rip on it so bad, but I can't help but notice that like this doesn't feel ready. But overall, again, I apologize for picking on the vocals too much, especially if anyone from the band happens to be listening to this, okay? I want you to know that your song's okay. It's not terrible. It could use a little work, but it's not bad at all. Nothing too attention-grabbing, unfortunately. Some of the production was very questionable, obviously, as I've already mentioned a couple of times. So I feel like this needs to go back for another round with the engineer, but you know what? It wasn't a bad track. This has potential. The rest of the album could have potential if there is one, or maybe just the EP if that's all there is. So I believe some good can come out of this. Maybe if I listen to some of the older stuff, it'll be fine, but this one was not doing it for me. And there you go. That's it. 3 new songs this week. I know I didn't have the best of opinions on them this time around, but you know what? Sometimes it happens. I'll pick 3 tracks. They're not the super best, but it's okay, because I want to know your opinion. Am I right? Am I wrong? What are your personal thoughts and opinions on this song? Let me know down in the comments below I was going to say wherever you're listening, but it's only on YouTube. So let me know down in the comments below here on YouTube, because I'm always curious to know what you think of these songs, in your opinion. If you love them, I'd love to know. If you hate them, if you agree with me, let me know that too. Always curious, so yeah, just go ahead and do that. But hey, if you're looking for somewhere else to give your opinions as well check out ratetherecord.ca. That's our home base, our website, and it has everything you would need, including our social media links in which you could, leave more opinions over on our social media pages as well. That's always fine. You're welcome to. All the streaming links you could possibly need for the podcast are over there too. The RTR Club. You can buy our merch and you can request album for us to do on the podcast. All of that found at ratetherecord.ca. So one more time, because things sound good in 3s, ratetherecord.ca. And speaking of the podcast, yes, that is still going on. Season 5 still going strong. We got about 6 or 7 more episodes by the time this episode comes out. I have no idea. But 6 or 7 more episodes of the podcast to finish off Season 5. So make sure that you're tuning in. This past Monday, we got a request to do Carpenter Brute and their album Trilogy. It was a big one. It was a long one. And I know I always tell you to listen to these because, obviously we want people to listen to the podcast. But I did some fantastic grade A storytelling in this one. I had a lot of fun, and I know Savannah absolutely adored it. No matter what she tells you, she adored it. So by all means, go check it out, because you're not going to regret this one. It is a fantastic album. It's a fantastic story I told. Go check it out. And if our production lines up properly, Savannah's going to have an NMR tomorrow by the time I'm releasing this one. So maybe it's already up by the time you're watching this. Maybe you got to wait a whole other day. But regardless, hopefully she'll have one. We'll both have one out this week. Pretty cool, so you can check that out. Other than that, I'll see you next time on the podcast. Go listen to awesome music in the meantime. See you real soon. Take care, friends.